let's move to Josh Primo now.
Yeah.
So Josh Primo was waived by the San Antonio Spurs abruptly on Friday. And when these things happen, it's always worth waiting to see what the other shoe to drop is going to be. Josh Primo is a guy that was taken 13th overall, 12th or 13th overall in the 2021 NBA draft. The Spurs had begun like doing a marketing push behind him like this summer, even into the fall, I believe. They picked up his third-year option on October 10th on his rookie scale deal, and then proceeded to have him as a full level part of their rotation on a team that had been pretty competent to this point and still looks pretty competent to this point, as we talked about on the last podcast last week. Actually, you don't just randomly cut a guy 18 days after you pick up his third-year option and you play him 20 to 25 minutes a night, and the level is good for a teenager, fine for an NBA player coming off the bench to an extent. So there was always another shoe to drop. The shoe dropped the next day. That, according to Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, Josh Primo has been accused of multiple instances of, it seems like, showing his genitals to women, period, it seems like. And then Shams Charania reported that a former staffer was one of those people. A former staffer of the San Antonio Spurs was one of those people. So with that happening, it's hard to keep someone around when they're doing that. Teams have done it, but I think the Spurs obviously made the right move here, releasing Josh Primo. Josh Primo released a statement on Friday night, I guess that was, before the report came out, regarding why they released him, saying that there was he's taking this time to work on some personal trauma, I believe is the way that he put it. And I don't want to downplay that necessarily. You know, I'm sure that there could be something there. But obviously it's not a good look in the middle of getting cut unceremoniously by your team that was clearly excited about you 18 days ago, multiple months ago, etc. Right. Just to quote, I know you're all surprised by today's news. I've been seeking help to deal with personal trauma or previous trauma I suffered and will now take this time to focus on my mental health treatment more fully. I hope to be able to discuss these issues in the future so I can help others who have suffered in a similar way. I appreciate privacy at this time. You know, the timing is terrible on that. Just don't do that. Period. Again, like I'm sure there are, you know, I take him at his word that there is previous trauma there, but don't do that. Like not in the middle of this thing that just happened. I think that that's a shit look. Yeah, I mean, Josh Primo, a guy that, you know, patron saint of Matt Penny on this podcast. We have to acknowledge it. Unfortunately, you know, I don't think anyone saw this coming. But yeah, off the San Antonio Spurs, unclear where his future lies.
Yeah. And again, there's not much to add on the basketball side of things because it's about, you know, whether you want to call it getting mental health work done on his behalf, just making sure that he's in the right frame of mind to treat everyone around him with dignity and respect whenever, if ever, he enters an NBA locker room, organization, front office again. Yeah, the one thing for me is we're seeing this a little bit too much in the realm of sports right now. Things that have to do with kind of gender related, you know, sexual relationships or instances of revealing to people of the opposite sex. And it's certainly something that needs to be addressed individually.
Well, let's be clear about this. It's not just people of the opposite sex. It's women. Like,
Sure.
Respect women, like, period. point blank. This
Yep.
is not.
Yep. Yeah.
This isn't a hard thing. Respect women. Respect them in the workplace. Respect them in your personal dealings with them. Period. Point blank. Like it's incredibly disrespectful. What Josh Primo is accused of doing. It's sexual harassment. It's unacceptable. Allegedly, I guess we don't have proof that it happened yet, but respect women in the workplace. This isn't that hard.
Yep. And my big thing is that we can't become, as fans, as a society, desensitized to it because it is happening too frequently. Like, stand up to it, handle it the right way every single time. My tip of the cap goes to the San Antonio Spurs organization for kind of how they've handled parts of this and at least, moved to this pretty quickly.
On the surface, this looks good for the Spurs to cut ties very quickly. I would like to know more about the timeline on when all of this happened. Like I said, they just picked up his option 18 days ago. Is the first instance of this prior to them picking up his option and them not knowing about it, or them knowing about it and doing it? I don't know. I don't know any of this yet. And while on the surface, this looks like a good decision by the Spurs, I do just want to acknowledge that we don't yet have all of the information, and I think we need to hold out on this. Look, I'd be fairly stunned if someone claimed Primo. I can't imagine an ownership group signing off on this at this point. He is on waivers and he does have a very favorable contract, but I just can't imagine a team claiming him right now. There are a lot of teams that have trade exceptions. There are a lot of teams that there are a lot of owners that you could maybe, say would consider this as, a lot of front offices that will see a highly talented 19-year-old that, they can get under team control for up to 7 years at this point. But I just can't, I certainly don't condone it. I think it'd be extremely fucking gross if someone claimed him, but we'll find out on Monday, I guess, if that's going to happen.
Yep.
And it's worth noting as well that according to Shams and Katie Strang, that a former Spurs female employee, the one that I previously referenced, has hired Tony Busby, who is the attorney that represented the women in the Deshaun Watson case. There could be some sort of civil suit forthcoming if you hire an attorney in that way. So we will see, but stop being gross toward women, period. It's respect women. Not that is the official position of this podcast. Respect women, point blank.
Should be that simple, Sam. Should be that simple.